Hello everyone, welcome back to another video of my YouTube channel, and today we are going to talk about conditional statements in Python. So unlike the other videos I did, today is going to be a little different. We're going to talk about something other than a data structure or data type. And so how a conditional statement works is that it gives a condition as the name implies, and if that condition is satisfied, it runs the code within that conditional statement. So I'll show you how it works. You use this if statement, if keyword, not if statement, and then you type in your condition. So let's predefine a variable called x, and we'll say x equals 5. So with this if keyword, we can type in our condition. Let's say if x equals 6, colon, and then within this indented block, we put whatever code must execute if this condition is satisfied. So let's say if x is equal to 6, print x. So from this code, if we can tell that since x equals 5, this code will not run because x is equal to 6 in this condition. So let's try and run this, and obviously nothing happens. But if we were to change this to if x equals 5 and run it now, we should get a 5 because this condition is satisfied. And remember, use two equals operators if you are comparing two things. Anything where it's conditional, when you're assigning a value to a variable, you just use one equal sign. So yeah. So this is just a very basic conditional statement. We can add more conditions if needed. We can say if x equals 5 and y equals apple. I always use the apple example in all of my lessons. So here, we can say y equals banana. So this code will not execute because what this and keyword means is that both conditions have to be true. So since x equals 5, x is true, but y equals apple and y here equals banana. So this will not run. On the other hand, if we use the or keyword, then it will run because only at least one of these conditions has to be satisfied. So let's try it with and see what happens. It will not run. But if we did with or, it should run. So yeah, that is how and or keywords work. So yeah, this is, I'm just gonna leave this up here in case you want to see it later. But now we're gonna talk about something else, and that is the else statement. And what that is just if this block of code doesn't run, if the if statement is not satisfied, the else block will run. So we do the same thing, colon, indent, and we'll say print else, right? So let's try this with and as I showed you before, this will not run. So since this if statement does not run, this else statement should. So let's try this out, and we get else. So yeah, this is how you use an else statement. You don't with an else statement, you don't really put a condition like that because else is just a generic term. It's if this does not run. So if anything other than this happens, then this else statement will run. And now we have something called the elif statement. In other languages, it's called else if, but in Python, it's literally a mix of the two words, elif. Right? So with this one, we do have to put a condition. And like the name implies, it's a mix of the two. It's a mix of if and else. So what that means is if this does not run, this runs if the condition is satisfied. Now, I know that sounds a bit confusing, but let me show you an example. We'll say y equals banana, colon, indent. So remember, if you do not indent, this will not be part of the elif statement. So for all conditional statements, you need to indent. So yeah, let's say if y equals banana, we'll say print elif, right? And in this case, since if x equals 5 and y equals apple is not true, it will skip over this and go to this elif statement. Elif y equals banana, and it is banana, it will run. But it's really not as simple as that, because then we could just use another if statement. What the elif statement does is if this condition is not, if this if statement does not run, then only the elif statement will run. So we can add another if statement. We can say if y equals, we'll just say if y equals banana. And then we'll say print new if. So for this statement, since this is, well, this if statement is really just independent of whatever surrounds it. So even if this does not run, this will run since y equals banana. But on the other hand, an elif statement works only if the if statement before it does not run, or the multiple if statements before it. So we can have something like, let's add a z variable. We'll say z equals, we'll say false. All right. And one thing you should know is if you're using a conditional statement with a Boolean, you don't really need to say equals false. You can just say, well, for false, you do need to say equals false, but if it's z equals true, then you can just say if x, or sorry, if z, and that just means if z is equal to true. You can also do this if you'd like, but I just keep it simple. So yeah. So let's try to include another elif statement, and we'll say if z is equal to true. So here's a small quiz. I'll just try to determine what is going to run and what is not going to run. So let's just say this, and instead of print x, we'll say print if. So if it runs, you'll know which conditional block ran. So let's try to decipher what I just wrote, one conditional statement at a time. So x equals 5, y equals the string banana, and z equals the Boolean true. So we go to the first conditional. If x equals 5 and y equals apple, print if. But as you can see, y is banana, so it just skips over this code. Now we go to this elif statement. If elif z is equal to true, print first elif. So in this case, z is equal to true, so it will run this, and it will print first elif. But since this elif statement run, the rest of this code is skipped over, even if it's true. So this elif statement and this else statement will not run. So let's try that out, and we should get first elif. Once a elif statement is run, the rest of the conditional block does not run. So yeah, let's say if z equals false, and since z is not false, it will skip over this one more time, and here we say elif y equals banana, and since y is banana, it will print elif, and it skips over the rest. You don't really need an else statement, by the way. You can just have if, elif, elif, or just an if by itself. Just remember, if you don't have any of this, let's pretend this is not here. You can't start with an elif statement. You need an if statement and then an elif, because it's a mix of else and if, and to have an else, you need an if. So yeah, just remember that. And so now you know the basics of conditional statements. The main things I want you to remember here are the use of these and or keywords, and how to structure a conditional statement. So you need a colon at the end of this conditional statement, indent, and whatever is in this indented block will run. But if you have something here, like print true, this will not be part of this conditional statement. So yeah, remember that all code which runs after a conditional statement goes after an indent. So yeah, Also, you should know by now the uses of elif and else keywords. Elif needs a condition while else does not. Else is just if none of this runs. So else is just else doesn't need a keyword. Elif and if else does not need a condition. Elif and if do. So just remember that, and that's all. So thanks for watching, everybody. I know maybe I talked a bit fast or I stuttered or something, but yeah, this is the main idea. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.